fly?
She's just hovering. It's not that impressive. God, do you have to undermine everything that I do? You are such a player hater.
You're a jerk. Wow, nice insult, Hannah Montana. You got any more harsh digs?
You know what? You were never a good friend. Even when we were little, you used to steal my toys and pour lemonade on my bed.
And now I'm eating your boyfriend. See? At least I'm consistent.
Why do you need him? Huh? You could have anybody that you want, Jennifer. So, why Chip? Is it just to tick me off? Or is it because you're just really insecure?
I am not insecure, needy. God, that's a joke. How could I ever be insecure? I was the snowflake queen.
Yeah. 2 years ago when you were socially relevant.
I am still socially relevant.
And when you didn't need laxatives to stay skinny.
I am going to eat your soul and shit it out, Nikki!
Thought you only murdered boys.
I go both ways.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Heath.
And I'm Jay.
And you're listening to Host of Horrors, show where we discuss and review horror films based off of predetermined themes of the month. Jay!
Hey, it's the second week of Women's History Month, y'all. Woo! So, this film that we just watched is honestly, this is going to be very divisive. I can already tell you it's going to be very divisive when it comes to, I think, me and Heath, and on top of just me and Heath, it's been divisive in reviews, and I do have my issues, but I think my issues would have been alleviated because, okay, so I really think that this movie could have been better done in the way that certain plot details were done. And on top of that, the marketing of this film, I remember it because it came out in 2009. The marketing of this film was way different than what it put out to be. And even from the posters and whatnot, there was a lot of different marketing than what it should have been. And I think that only worked to its detriment. Because if I remember correctly, I can't remember how much it made in the box office, but I think it was a flop.
Oh, no, it definitely was a flop. I am going to hit you with that KFC two-piece.
KFC two-piece?
Yeah, I'm going to hit you with that KFC two-piece if you keep bad-mouthing this movie, because this movie's great. I will agree with the marketing, though. They fucked this movie. Like I said last week, I hated this movie as a kid because I was looking for sexy good time, and this is not what this movie is.
But you're like a horny teenager.
Everyone's a horny teenager.
Sure.
You weren't a horny teenager?
Sure.
Be honest. Everyone, okay, I see it in your face. Everyone's a horny teenager.
Fuck you. All to hell. My God.
No, this movie's great. It did flop, though. It definitely flopped because they did market this movie solely based off the fact that Megan Fox is attractive, and they kind of pushed it towards a male-centric demographic. However, this is basically like a beautiful little like feminist empowerment movie. It's fucking great. Like it's two best friends in a falling out in a toxic relationship. I don't know. I love this movie.
There's a lot going on, and I think the fact that it wasn't marketed properly kind of like fucked up its perception for me. But watching it now, all of these years later, there's a charm. There's a certain charm to it. And it's kind of like if you don't take it seriously, you enjoy it a lot more. I think that's kind of what I'm getting out of it.
Well, that's Diablo Cody. You can't take Diablo Cody seriously. Like, it's not written to be serious.
I don't even think she takes herself seriously.
No. So if you don't know by now, we are reviewing Jennifer's
Jennifer's
Body, written by Diablo Cody and directed by KARYN KUSAMA.
And I'm sorry to this lady, but before, like, maybe a week ago, I didn't know who the director was of this movie. Only person that I really, like, knew from Jennifer's Body is Diablo Cody and Megan Fox. Like, those are the only two people who I actually actively remembered from this movie.
My baby Amanda, though.
Baby, they didn't put her in the fucking poster.
Well, no!
They did not put her in the fucking poster.
Which I don't know why, because to me, I find Amanda prettier than Megan.
They're both very pretty in their own ways. We don't put women against each other in this house.
Okay.
Even though they're both really hot. Anyway, but...
I don't know. I prefer Amanda. She's got like a natural prettiness. I don't know.
And watching this film, you can tell whose career lasted and whose didn't. In the first 20 minutes of the film. Oh god. Okay.
My favorite part was watching you see all the people that showed up. Because you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember Megan Fox supposed to be in this movie. Oh, hey, it's Amanda Seyfried. Oh, that's cool. Is that Chris Pratt? Hold up. Is that J.K. Simmons with a hook?
Yeah, no, if you couldn't tell, this is my first time watching this film as an adult. And I don't remember this film when it first came out. Like, I was a freshman when it came out, a freshman in high school when it came out. So, like, of course we were talking about it, but we never really, like, you know, did anything about it, like watching it was, because it was like, I think an R-rated film. Yeah. Like, it was an R-rated film that, you know, and I was like 13, 14, so of course I wasn't gonna be able to watch it.
Oh, I watched it, but my problem was...
Of course you're a horny teenager.
Well, horny teenager and being cis straight, all the guys were like, yeah, that movie sucks. Yeah. And you kind of get this preconception in your head, even like as a kid, you're like, oh, I didn't enjoy this because it wasn't sexy good time, but like you couldn't even get like any kind of nuances that the film would have given you because you're already in that mind state of you and your friends going, man, this movie sucks.
Yeah, so
and it took me finding out that this was my fiance's favorite, one of their favorite films. And I was actually trying to get them to be on the show tonight, but they're extremely shy, which is adorable. But, well, needless to say, they love this movie and forced me to watch it, and I've grown a huge appreciation for it.
Sounds like Stockholm Syndrome.
It kind of is, but no, I don't know, there's a lot of messages in here, because like I said, it really is basically a toxic relationship, but it's a friendship. And after talking to Nick about the movie, that's a huge like high school thing for young women. And so they told me about little things that I just never picked up on ever would have picked up on. The whole end of the movie where she rips the locket off and that basically like kills all of Jennifer's powers. I'm like, that's kind of fucking stupid. And then Nick explained it to me. I'm like, well, it's still kind of stupid, but okay, I get it.
Honestly, I didn't think it was stupid, but it was also like, it kind of shows the bit of love that she had for Needy. But it's like, whenever Needy ripped that away from her, oh god, it's giving me the same energy of like, I don't know if you watched ATL with T.I., but there's this one scene with T.I. and I think Lauren London, where like he literally rips unceremoniously, rips the chain off of her that he gave her, and it just gave me that same energy. It was just like, bitch, you betrayed me. You don't deserve this piece of jewelry. So it was just like, it gives me that energy. Yeah. But all in all, like, I guess actually going into how I feel about the film, at first, I was like, okay, this is like giving B movie. Very, very dated. Well, okay, it's very dated in a way that it's very of its time. Like, it's a 2009 movie through and through. It's a mid-2000s movie through and fucking through.
But I think, like, the whole it being dated is like a punchline. I mean, from the infomercials to the Bowflexes to the corny,
all of the slang,
all the slang. I think that's almost a punchline in itself. It being dated like that.
I think maybe because Diablo Cody, I think she's a smart writer. So even though like I find this kind of cringe in 2022, it still had a charm for it because like you can tell that this is like, obviously the same shit we were saying as during this time frame. So it just feels very. It's like a time capsule. This movie's like a time capsule of that time, at least from the perspective of like if you're like some kind of like white person who's into like emo music and shit during that time where emo and punk music. Okay, not much punk, but like the alternative music.
It's that indie rock.
Alternative indie rock was very much so in vogue.
This soundtrack is bitchin'. I'm that emo guy that listens to this shit.
Because like seeing all like the Fall Out Boy posters, the
4 Years Strong, Motionless in White,
all of that, those kinds of bands is very is a very just of its time. You knew the audience they were going for. But one thing I did, like I said earlier, I just didn't really care so much about the fact that this was a early attempt at trying to market a very female-led horror film, but it wasn't really supposed to be a horror film. It's like gives dark comedy. It's a
horror movie.
Well,
even dark comedies it's the same thing with like Hellboy. Okay, Hellboy's technically an action superhero movie, but it's also a horror movie because it has horror themes.
Yeah, it has horror themes, but I don't think it's the main focus of it. Like how a girl walks home alone at night, that has a lot of horror themes, but it's mainly more so a romance that you don't really see as a romance until halfway through. And this is the same vein where it's like it's a horror film, but you don't really get horror elements up until a certain point. You get I lied. You get horror elements throughout the film, but there's not a distinct tonal shift up until maybe like you get to the start of the second act of the film.
I disagree with that completely. Like I think it's one tone the entire movie.
I think when it comes to genre, I think there's a genre shift, but when it comes to when it comes to tone, I think it kind of stays the same, but you can tell where there are moments where it's like it's supposed to be more. It's supposed to be like teen comedy. It's wrapped around like horror. Like horror's wrapped around it like a very bloody towel.
Yeah,
that's in a teen comedy kind of way.
It's tongue in cheek. It's kind of like Candyman. Candyman's a horror movie, but it's wrapped around social commentary. Like. That's what you get out of Candyman is the message, the social comment. You get, cringy comedy, like dark comedy out of this with a little bit of horror.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just very of its time, the comedy of it. So it's like, this is a very nostalgic film in this kind of era, is what I feel like. Because back when people were like, this first came out, I do think due to like the weird, gross mismanagement of the film, like there's a lot of preconceived notions, like you said, about what this film was going to be. And when you actually kind of realize it, there are a lot of different messages, a lot of different things going on in this film that you don't really pick up on until you get older.
Yeah, because going back to the whole toxic thing that Nick was telling me about, so whenever you think of like gaslighting or toxic relationships or anything like that,
on the gaslighting immediately.
But you always associate, especially like even nowadays, you always associate that with like a partner, a sexual partner, or a significant other in a relationship.
It's about power.
Yeah, but you never equate that to a friendship level. And as like I said, with like Nick was explaining to me, this is very representative of what young women go through in high school, having a friend dynamic like Needy and Jennifer. Because even Needy, with her name being Needy, she's not the one that's needy. It may seem like at first she is or needs Jennifer. That's not it. She genuinely loves Jennifer with all her heart as a friend. Jennifer's the one who's insecure and needs Needy to kind of be that, I hate to say like ugly buffer, but you know how like you're the pretty
the ugly
one.
friend.
Yeah. Jennifer's
she's not really the ugly friend, but she's still the quote unquote ugly friend.
The nerd versus the cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
But like Jennifer's the one that's insecure. Jennifer's the one that needs Needy. So that's where the whole locket at the end being ripped off makes sense, because that's basically Needy cutting all ties, and Jennifer finally realizes, oh, I actually just lost my best friend. I just got stabbed in the heart. You know, the whole that's how you kill a demon thing, stab him in the heart. So it kind of makes sense. I don't know. I don't love it, but
really think that those kinds of elements were like apparent throughout the film, with the whole toxic relationship from the beginning, with with the whole thing about them going to the bar to go see the band and kind of like just taking everything out of, like taking everything that Needy's needs out of like the window for just say, oh, you're just like you're just needy, you just need to follow me and all of that. And it's kind of like it gives Stockholm Syndrome sometimes, where it's like you try to find like you find a little bit of love in that chaos.
Well, it's just relationships. I've seen relationships like this. Like the whole thing where Needy's like, okay, I have to wear this because Jennifer says I need to wear this. You know, I've
seen that happen.
I've seen that happen. I've seen, where a woman would go out of her way simply because her quote unquote man would tell her to do this.
Or they say they like it. I was like, oh, I like you when you wear this. And tried to like kind of coax her into kind of changing the style. I mean, I guess a relevant extreme example is literally everything with Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, and I forgot her name, and how like everything's coming out with how manipulative and how controlling Kanye is as a partner, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. But people don't really listen to women like that until a lot of times it's too late.
Yeah,
and a lot of the stuff that's going on with this, in this case, actually, you know what? Let's go into this film, because a lot of what I was about to say, I can really explain more as we talk about the film, because I think the big part that goes into everything is the fire, and I still didn't really understand why the fire happened in the first place.
It was so funny,
but like I don't know if it was like a complete accident or was like kind of an intentional act of defiance and all of that. And it just, I think that whole B plot, I guess, of the everything related to Lowe's shoulder and the fire and everything that goes from that tragedy, it goes into like this whole early like rumor mill. Early, like, oh, you're kind of profiting off the deaths of a whole bunch of people, trying to prop up the rest of your area as like, oh my God, this city that is trying to rise up from all of this tragedy, all of this despair. And that was kind of wild to me. But we see this happen all the time.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Like, honestly, that's no shade on my own industry. But that's how the film industry here even got on its feet, is because we were basically low-key profiting off the deaths of a whole bunch of people post-Katrina. And I, as much as I hate to say that, it's kind of sort of true.
Yeah, it's kind of sort of true. And even when you think about it, like, the film industry was doing so good after that tragedy. And then as soon as tax credits or tax cuts, left, like the governor said, okay, we can't give them tax cuts anymore because it's kind of destroying our economy. Film industry was like, okay, bet, we'll leave. And that kind of screwed us.
And it screwed us. And then the only other times we've really had any kind of success is either off of the tragedies of others, or we were kind of used as like a last resort, or as like, oh, we can't really do it anywhere else but here. And
I am hoping it gets better. It seems like it might get better.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it gets better.
It looks like it's getting a little better around here.
Yeah, hopefully.
That fire scene though, I loved it so much. It was so chaotic, so out of nowhere, and everyone was just so nonchalant. I loved it. There's fucking explosions, man. Explosions happening in the background, and the lead singer of Low Shoulder comes out with a drink and is like, damn, that sucks.
Drink.
You want to get in my van?
And like literally, and oh god, okay, that whole scene was like so uncomfortable. Now, like looking at it and just like overhearing like the whole virgin thing, and this loud exclamation of me hating the way this scene is framed, because I hate like defocus scenes where you have literally like the foreground is literally one of the characters, like the character in question that's being focused on, and then you have the other characters that's being focused on.
Are you talking about when Needy overhears the conversation?
And
I thought it was cool. I mean, it's dated as
was
fuck,
cool,
but I kind of think it's cool.
But like, it becomes a staple in horror films because that same shit happened in Ma. Like, and that one's a whole fucking meme. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh god. But that's a whole personal nitpick. It doesn't really affect my opinion of the film itself. It's just I just don't like those kinds of shots, but that's just me. But that part about them trying to look for a virgin, it already gets creepy because like these guys like to prey on young women anyway. From the sounds of what I picked up on, they want to creep up on women anyway, and then ultimately realizing that they're using young women virgins in particular to basically sacrifice to the fucking devil.
Yeah, they want to be famous, It was what was his quote? He said something that made me laugh so hard. What was it? It was like either you have to get on a soundtrack.
Oh, he's like,
you either have to be on Letterman or get on
some kind of
soundtrack,
and
none of that's happening for us. So you know what? Let's worship Satan.
And it's just
I'm like, you know what? Yeah,
it's just the fact that you took all of these steps, and then you got let's go to fucking Satan out of this. Like, out of everything else you could have done in 2009.
And what I love is he printed out the ritual from the internet, and it worked.
No, that shit was funny. That shit was funny. I'm like, that at that point, I knew, like, this film is camp.
No, that one girl in class that was like, what are you talking about, Needy? They totally saved people at that burning building. And Needy's like, what are you talking about? I was fucking there. They didn't do a goddamn thing. Then she comes back and is like, are you serious? Because it's not a rumor. It's on their Wikipedia. I know they did it.
It adds on to that shit I was talking about, the early rumor mills, because of the fact that this is like still like relatively early internet. Before, this is like back when the iPhones first came out, so people, before
MySpace was a thing.
Yeah, MySpace was still a thing. I'm like, bitch, you could have uploaded your music on MySpace, and yet here you are worshiping fucking Satan. Like, you went from like, if you want to worship Satan, bitch, you should have gone to a major label. Like, but that's just me. But it's just like the fact that like all of these, it adds on to how dated it is, but it's also timeless in a way that it's like, of course, people who read one Wikipedia article and then all of a sudden they know everything about their favorite artist or know everything about a certain moment in history, and you're just like, no baby. People really thought Wikipedia was like a legitimate source back in the day, and it's wild how many people still just reference the Wikipedia pages for any single thing. And I'm like, baby, anybody can edit that. Anybody. They can put like, fucking Star Wars dies at the end. And like fucking
Star Wars dies at the end. And all of Star Wars dies.
And then like fucking some people actually believe it. And like people use that shit to like malicious efforts. So it's like, I get it. I've seen people do that shit and try to like make a whole smear campaign from it.
You know what I love about this movie? Now, this just may be a personal thing. I think the actual band that's in the movie, the Low Shoulder or whatever, I think their music sucks. Absolutely fucking sucks. And it's so jarring, especially when they cut with all that others. Because this whole soundtrack, every song on here I listen to. I like, this is my music. This is my shit. So especially when you hear, in my opinion,
you like
good
the
music.
Batman a lot then.
Fuck you. So when you hear, in my opinion, good music, and then you go to Low Shoulder and they suck, but I think that's kind of the point. I think the whole idea is that their music does suck, but because they did the whole Satan worship thing, that's why they became famous.
And honestly, them also riding off the backs of the tragedy that low-key they're a part of.
Yeah.
And
yeah. It doesn't come off as they did it, but it also, I think they did it. I think they burnt the bar down.
Yeah, I thought it was just a complete accident.
It looked like a complete accident, but they were way too chill.
They were way too calm during the fire. So it was like, I feel like that was all a huge PR stunt, and then just added on to the fact that they literally tried to sacrifice somebody and to be famous. Like, bitch, you were just trying to join the Illuminati, and it worked.
They didn't try. They sacrificed Jennifer. It just
they succeeded.
They didn't realize Jennifer wasn't a virgin, and she became basically like this half demon, half human succubus type thing.
Not even gonna lie, I would not mind being a little succubus, but you have to like cover your tracks. Yeah, like you literally have to cover your tracks so no one will know who did it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it's like that's a lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort. It's like,
and then you have to pick off people and shit. Like having to track people who nobody would give a shit about or miss. Like that's hard now because people miss people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not like back in the day, you know. Being a succubus, I think, like in the 20s or the 30s, that would have been a good decade to do it.
Good decade. Honestly, maybe sometimes the 70s and 80s, but especially during with the drug epidemic.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the 70s, I feel like too many serial killers were out and about.
You're not wrong.
Reason I say 20s and 30s, you know, Great Depression. Someone goes missing, maybe he starved to death.
Yeah. But
another thing I love about this movie, absolutely love about this movie. So I'm the type of guy that watches horror movies, and I don't speak out loud, but in my head I'm going, bitch, why are you going in the woods? Why are you going in the woods? Don't go in the woods. You're gonna die. Don't go in that abandoned building. Just please don't. You're gonna die. Everything that happens in this movie makes sense.
Everything has happened at least 3 or 4 different times, and I'm like,
because you sit there and you watch like the football guy get lured into the woods because a hot chick is promising sex. You got Colin, who is my mortal enemy because my fucking fiance finds him hot. And know what? I can't fault her. He kind of hot.
Not really, but he's like okay, like he's like. Not really hot to me, but I think he's probably like quote unquote hot in the way where he's like, you can tell that he listens to the Black Parade on repeat, and that he models his whole aesthetic after amalgamation of Pete Wentz and freaking Gerard Way with a little bit of Billy Joe Armstrong.
Yeah, I mean,
which is like not bad, but it's like that's his whole personality, and I feel like some people. Those are some clothes that I will probably see myself wearing, but at the same time, I'm like, I know I can't pull that off. So therefore, I'm like, he can keep that. The emo era, the scene era can keep that. I was more of a scene kid anyway.
See, that's the problem. Is like I was totally into all that shit. I just couldn't pull it off. Like I'd put it on and just be like, I look gross. I'm just gonna put on some pants and a hoodie. But like e-girls, goth, all that shit, sexy. So I can't fault my fiance for finding him sexy because, yeah, he kind of hot. I can't even deny it.
Oh my god.
Anywho, but it all makes sense. Like them being lured in by hot girl, it makes sense because you're like Jay said, horny teenagers.
Another thing that I really did like about this film was the framing in which everything happened. Because, you know, when you start the film, you start the film in prison, and you're just like, well, okay, not really in prison.
It's like a psych ward.
You start, the film actually starts out with Megan Fox. So you expect you to follow Megan Fox the whole time. But then you see Needy outside just like in the most creepy way. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. So I like the framing of basically like everything. Needy's basically the narrator of the film. And basically this is a story about how it's basically how she got out of an abusive relationship and had to go to jail because of it. And man, I feel for Needy at the end of this because it's like everything that she does, it's basically out of like, it's almost like this like cry to wolf situation, except she was always right. Like having to deal with someone who's always like wronged you, or like someone who's a society has wronged you and has like basically treated you like shit because like you may be different, or because of like, oh, you're like, you know, are trying to tell people something off about this, but you don't believe them until they don't believe you until it's too late.
But at the same time,
I'm like, bitch, I'll go crazy too.
Yeah,
even though everything's justified.
Like at the same time, though, imagine like that creepy Walmart parking lot guy comes up to you and goes, "Aliens are real, man." You're not gonna believe that, dude.
No, but it's also like,
but then tomorrow you look on the news and aliens are real.
But it's like it's different if it's a rando, but if it's like your boyfriend, your significant other, or hell, your fucking best friend, I feel like you're gonna have to be like, okay, maybe they're crazy, but like I want to support them, or at least
but
kind of like that, even though they may be wrong.
But like, what if they are wrong? Then you're supporting an unhealthy action.
Then they either gonna learn that they're wrong on their own, or once they find out that they're wrong, you tell them, I know you're wrong, but like I'm just gonna let you do it, because there's a certain point where you just kind of be like, you gotta let people learn shit on their own.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with Chip on this one. Like, if someone came up to me and was like,
and now look at Chip, he's fucking dead.
You leave Chip out of this.
Chip is fucking dead now.
Poor
because he didn't believe his girlfriend, and now look at him, he's dead.
Actually, no. Chip's dead because he like half-ass cheated on his girlfriend.
Because part of it is falling into the trap that is the succubus, that is Megan Fox, that is Jennifer. On top of the fact that he didn't believe her whenever he was saying that Jennifer's fucking evil.
No, he believed her. He just didn't believe like Satan evil.
He should have been like, okay, maybe you're right. He should have said, maybe you're right. I don't know.
No, I feel like he could have lived. He could have because she Needy made it to where they started, like where the little like she could have saved his life, But no, he had to go kissy kiss face suck on Megan Fox.
But also, and I'm like, no, it's also dude. The fact that Megan, like Jennifer, literally lied, and I feel like he should have believed his girlfriend more at that time.
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
At that point, but it's also at that point there was already seeds of doubt in her and like concern for Needy. Because everybody thought she was going fucking crazy, and
if he was concerned, he shouldn't have cheated on her.
I agree. I totally fucking
here's
agree.
My problem
I'm not trying to justify cheating. It's just that it's like I get why it happened, but I don't like it.
Here's my I like Chip a lot, but I'm also like, fuck you, dude. You shouldn't have cheated on Needy. Like, it's weird. Like, I'm like, Chip didn't deserve that, but at the same time, Chip fucking deserved that.
He did. I'm not gonna say he deserved it fully, but like, he shouldn't have gave in as easily as he did. He gave in way too easily to what Jennifer was saying because of the fact that he already had a seed of doubt because of him thinking that Colin and Needy were being a thing, and then Jennifer egging him on with that. That was the confidence in his head to be like, oh, I guess we not really like together. We probably are, but like we're not together. And then that moment of weakness, bam.
Yeah, that, and it also
still doesn't condone it, yo.
No, well, it also kind of shows with the whole Needy and Jennifer making out scene, and then like Needy freaks the fuck out. It kind of shows that maybe Jennifer has like an ability, like almost a hypnotic ability to kind of put someone in a trance.
To basically manipulate people, and I can see that kind of.
The main reason is because at first I was just like, okay, yeah, they maybe were a little, in love with each other, but then she freaks the fuck out and it's like, what are you doing? So I kind of think Jennifer's got this, like, powers of manipulation going on there. So we kind of throw that in Chip's corner. Mm-hmm. Don't cheat people, but I can kind of throw that in Chip's corner.
And, me being queer, seeing the obvious, like, queer themes that are in here, I wasn't really sure what they're going to do with the whole thing with Jen and Needy making out and having that whole scene. Was, like, is it more so like, oh, they were really feeling like each other, and then the whole thing with her saying, oh, we can play boyfriend girlfriend like we used to. So were they, like, experimenting with each other until they found their respective boyfriends, or was there, like, an actual, like, queer subtext that could have been there before?
Well,
and I don't know, maybe with the way that the film was edited, that it could have, like, it possibly could have led to that, especially with that scene whenever, Chip and Needy have sex, and she sees all that fucked up shit, and Chip is thinking it's him. So, but she's not, it seems like she's not enjoying it, even though he thinks he is. She's enjoying it because, like...
But she's not enjoying it because she's seeing fucked up shit, not...
Yeah, she was saying it because she's seeing fucked up shit, but it's, like, the miscommunication that's there.
Yeah, but I don't...
I don't know. I just picked up on that, I guess, and...
To me, I think if there is a subtext there, it's that Jennifer... Because Needy's the only one with a boyfriend. Jennifer just keeps going from guy to guy to guy, almost like using them for pleasure, and that's about it.
I mean, I don't know about for pleasure. For sustenance, yeah.
Well, pleasure to begin with, before she's a succubus. Anywho, I think Jen is actually in love with Needy. Like, that's the only one she cares about. That's the whole, separation of the chain, breaking of the friendship, stabbing of the heart. The only love that Jennifer has is for Needy.
She had hell of a weird-ass way of showing it then.
Well, yeah, but
then again, these are teenage girls.
She even said when she came back to life after the whole sacrificial
she came back
ritual,
to find her way home.
Came back to find Needy. That's all she could remember, is needing to find her. So I think if you're going to pick up on a subtext, it's Jennifer loves Needy. And that may even have, like, a connection with the whole... Needy being able to pick up on things that Jennifer's doing. Like when she's killing Colin during Chip and her sex scene, she sees, Jennifer hovering over the first dead guy, the linebacker, with blood dripping from the floor. She even touches her lips when Jennifer and Chip start making out. So I think the connection there is solely that Needy herself is Jennifer's heart. In like a metaphoric way of, stabbing the heart, killing the demon.
I also kind of get the whole context of possibly, like, have them having, like, they're, like, almost like soulmates in a way, but it's like soulmates having to break away due to, like, stuff that's happens. And as much as I would not like to kill my best friend whenever, they literally turn into a demon, like, if you see, like, all kind of fucked up shit happening, and you actually realize that that the one you caused it, I'll be fucking tore up about it. Honestly, I honestly would relate to Needy in a multitude of ways if shit like this happened, and this real fucked up shit happened. Then I probably would be Needy in this situation. Not even gonna lie.
The thing that's interesting about Needy is, other than trying to stop the situation from happening, she really doesn't do anything. Like, she knows Jennifer's killing people. She knows that it's going to happen again, and she goes to the dance to stop her, but not kill her. It literally takes Jennifer killing Chip before Needy's like, all right, you know what? Fuck that bitch. I'm a killer.
Yeah, I think it also
that's some friendship right there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's the kind of, like, like it's kind of like that your friend is probably doing bad things, but it's like it kind of goes on to like that people got to learn shit on their own. It's like I feel like you can't really let people. You can stop people all you want to, but if they don't want to do it of their own accord, then what can you do or whatnot? Because as much of a shitty friend that Jennifer is being to Needy, it feels like Needy's problem was that she was being a bit passive, and then her passiveness is what caused her all of this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna say being passive is a bad thing because that's halfway me a lot of times being a passive friend, but it's like
you need to know when people are stepping on you. Like that's the thing because I'm also passive, but you have to. It's hard to say it's okay to be passive because I know I am, and I don't like the fact that I'm passive. Because I know there's quite a few times that in my past, I've had people completely overlook an idea that I've had, step over me, use me, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. Like, don't change who you are, but also know who's a good person and who's not a good person.
And
they can call you call them your friend, but you have to judge that for yourself.
Yeah, and we don't really have any specific ways of navigating these kinds of friendships and the fallout from friendships as compared to relationships. You can talk about like, oh, here's what to do whenever someone breaks your heart, whenever your relationship goes sour. But it's like no one ever talks about what happens whenever your best friend of like so many years, basically just betrays you and just like realizes that they never really gave a shit about you. Like no one really knows like shit like that. Or hell, if they die and become the fucking succubus and they're killing people and you can't really do anything about it, but yet you're the only one who can really kill them per se. Like what the fuck can you do?
Yeah, and I think that
there's no manual for that shit. There's no Wikipedia article for that shit.
Yeah, and I think that line of Chip is a little more relevant than you realize because when when Needy says that Jennifer is evil, he sits there and goes, "Yeah, I know. Like, she's always been evil. She's always been mistreating you, Needy. You're the only one who doesn't see that. Needy's only seeing the fucked up shit that's happening now because Jennifer's killing people, not realizing that Jennifer's been a sucky friend this entire time."
I think a lot of it is the fact that, well, like I say, when it comes to like, seeing abuse in friendships, don't really see like the elements of gaslighting and all of that until something tangible happens. Like you and all of the emotional baggage and all of that stuff kind of, comes after the fact. Like you don't really see it till after the damage has been done, unless you've already been giving those tools to basically navigate this kind of shit. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, ain't none of us gonna have tools to navigate having a friend gaslight you into doing something that you don't want to do, or think that you're not this enough, or dressing a certain way because this is my style and you're gonna step on my style if you dress that way, even though like that way maybe fit better on the other person. It's kind of stuff like that. And fuck, this movie does have its moments where it's like very relatable. But like, I just think that the way that the film just presents it has points where you can clearly tell what Diablo Cody and can you give me the director's name one more time?
KARYN KUSAMA.
KARYN KUSAMA. I'm so sorry. What KARYN KUSAMA and what Diablo Cody were trying to portray in this film, but it feels like it gets muddled by kind of the meh kind of editing and just the pacing of it.
See, I don't know. Like, I like the editing and the pacing.
I think the pacing of it kind of goes wild. I'm not gonna say it goes wild. It's kind of weird because it kind of just feels like a weird sequence of events until you get to a certain point. So even when the framing of it, how everything was framed as like a what the fuck is it? flashback. There you go.
Oh,
As a one huge flashback until you get to maybe the third act of the film. It still just feels like everything is just kind of like all over the place, and it's also the fact that when it comes to the acting in the very first half, you can tell that Amanda Seyfried carried this film. Amanda Seyfried carries this film.
See, what's funny is you say that, but I hands down think this is Megan Fox's best performance.
But I'm also saying that to say that you can tell when it shifts. Like Amanda Seyfried, bitch can act no matter what.
Yeah, she can.
There's a reason why she's the most famous mean girl right now. But we can tell that Megan Fox, when she actually gets, a little bit of meat on her bones when it comes to giving her a little bit of meaty role, which they finally gave her, like, it feels like it finally came to fruition maybe whenever, that first scene when she came back. Whenever she first came back, that's when I was like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, Megan. But before that, up until that point, it's just kind of like, it feels like there is obvious bits of like bimbofication going on. Like, it feels like she just is the bimbo until a certain point where you can tell that I'm not gonna say it's a front, but it's like that's just part of the whole package that is, Jennifer.
Well, yeah, she's a cliche, which is funny because she calls Needy a cliche, but Jennifer is she's the hot, slutty cheerleader.
That's projection right there.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. I don't know, this movie's smart. It's smartly written, but I mean, again, it's Diablo Cody. She's right smart.
The themes I like. There's just the fucking slang and all of that high school shit. That's the cringe part to me.
But the funny thing is, it's so relatable.
Yeah, it's relatable, but it's also like, I feel like that's why I feel like it's a nostalgic movie. Like, people can see this from a point of nostalgia and like it better. But for me, I feel like I would have liked this film better when it came out, because of the fact that even though it was very kind of piss poor mismanaged and all of that, it still, I was saying shit like that. I was using MySpace before it went to shit, and like kind of doing all the same similar stuff, falling in similar circles as like the people like Colin or Chip and whatnot, maybe Needy. But now it just feels like it didn't age as well as I wish it would. But like parts of the social commentary that comes out from this film still ring true to today.
Yeah.
So it has a good bit of charm in it, in its writing. It's just the way that the writing and the dialogue was presented, not really through the acting, but just through just the words themselves.
Through the dialogue
just
itself,
the actual dialogue itself is just, it gives me cringe, and it's a me thing. I can't look past it.
And see, I think that's like the main reason I can look past it is because I think that's the whole punchline. I literally think this movie being dated as it is, because even in 2009, it's pretty freaking dated. Even in 2009, it's still like the Bowflex and infomercials, and that's pre-2009. So even that, it was dated when it came out. I think that's a joke.
And also with the Hannah Montana joke.
Yeah.
That was extremely dated.
I think that's part of the charm. I think that's like the whole joke of it is that it is dated, and they know it's dated. They know it's going to be dated. So why not roll with it?
Yeah. Another aspect I realized for being a shitty friend is, even though you may have like a little bit of feelings for Colin, like Needy, we knew she was not going to act on those feelings. And then the fact that Jennifer used that not only to ask the potential, I guess, crush out in front of her face, in order to, like, even if she was we knew that he was about to get killed, but to use that against Chip too, in order to lure Chip in, that is some low down grimy ass shit. Yeah. That is some very low down dirty shit.
No, it's also some dirty shit if you really think about it. Colin was using Needy just to get to Jennifer.
Honestly, I could tell that from like 10 miles away.
I didn't. When I first saw him drop down and he did the whole, hey, I heard you were in the fiery trenches last night. Glad you're alive. I was like, oh, they would be cute together. Dump Chip, even though I relate to Chip. Like, Chip was me in high school, hands down.
Was it down to the hair, too?
It honestly was. Like, no, like, not in high school. I had that hair when I was in middle school, because I was, like, trying to grow it out. But also, I had parents that were like, no, boys don't have long hair. So, anyway, but I finally got a decent haircut in high school. But no, I just, the look, personality. I wasn't in band, but I might as well have been. I was just the stoner. Like, take band out, make Chip a stoner. I was Chip in high school.
My God.
But even then, I was like, needy. Dump Chip and go with Colin. Y'all would be so cute together. But then, later on in the movie, you realize that motherfucker was just using her to get to Jennifer. You grimy bitch.
And, like, I'm not gonna say that he was probably, like, using her, like, all the way. But you can tell that there was, like, a little bit of, like, you know, ulterior motives, because no one just pops up and just be nice like that unless some tragedies happen. So I was like, at first it just came off as like, oh, he's just being nice because he was like giving low-key condolences to the fact and thankfulness to the fact that Jennifer and Needy basically survived a horrific event.
Well, no, I mean, there's relationship there through the dialogue, because even Chip's like, I didn't know you hung out with Colin Gray. Oh, well, we have creative writing class. He's really good.
Yeah.
So there is a relationship through the dialogue that we get.
Yeah. Look, it feels like just that relationship is just as, like, very acquaintance. But I think it's the fact that she kind of defended him a little bit. Like, I think you can tell that she got, like, a teeny bit defensive whenever it got brought, like, Colin got brought up. So that kind of,
she finds him attractive. Like, it's one of those things where, like, she's dating Chip, but also Colin's kind of hot kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when Jennifer's shitting all over him, he's hot. He's a sensitive dude. He's a very good writer. I kind of like him. If I wasn't with Chip, I'd probably, try to date him sort of thing. Then Jennifer, your so-called best friend, shitting all over him. Yeah. I get it. Needy's gonna fucking defend him a little bit. But it's right then and there where Jennifer realizes, oh, you like him. He's mine, and goes after him. It's like, you bitch!
Right? And on top of that, using that little bit of dirt against your so-called best friend to basically have her boyfriend cheat on her. It was very grimy. Even though they weren't, like, I don't even think they were really, like, they weren't even broken up. They were just, like, in a rough patch. And I don't even call it a rough patch.
It wasn't, so, like, in that position, yeah, he definitely would have thought they broke up.
Yeah.
But it's also like, he's just like, I just want you to live. I love you, dude. Like, just listen to me for a freaking second.
But, men.
Honestly, yes, men.
But that, and, just shit. I'm trying to figure out. There's a lot that I could have said. I think it's just there's a good bit of stuff when it comes to high school dynamics. It was like I know there was times where I went through this shit in high school and even in early college. It's like these some kinds of friendships and relationships just are way too common, and there's a huge power imbalance.
What's worse is when you're like straight out of high school and you move like across state and you still have to go through this shit. That's you're technically an adult and you still got to go through this shit.
And even though you technically are an adult, but you're still like 18. You still have a high school ass mentality. Like, you're gonna go through this kind of shit, and it sucks that you have to go through this kind of shit. But life. That's how life fucking works for some reason.
Yeah, like you gotta. It's a shame, but you got to go through all the bullshit to realize, what's real.
I do.
I feel like I'm having a therapy lesson, all because of this fucking movie.
Well, and a lot of it was because it's like there's a lot of things about this movie that brings up how much trauma we probably would have gone through that without even realizing it, and all of the, and you're kind of retextualizing all of the interactions you had during that time, like I'm doing right now in my head, and you're just like, huh. And me, I feel like I've always been more emotionally in tune because I think about this shit all the time. I was like, are they really my friend or are they just like, just using me? Like, I've always thought about shit like that because I just feel like I'm so kind of like emotionally just tuned to that kind of shit. And just seeing a lot of all my friendships, like, I'm not all of them, a lot of my old friendships kind of like die out for some reason. But like, you get it, friends come and go, but like, it's just like sometimes you kind of have to stand up for yourself and be like, okay, I guess I have to be, take the narrative and take the control in this, in this narrative and stuff.
Or just cut ties and start over. That's what I did.
Starting over is harder when older you get, though.
Yeah, well, luckily I got Nick. Like, honestly,
yeah.
Literally, I found Nick, and I was like, you know what? Fuck these people. They're not good friends. They're not good people. I'm just gonna start a life with old Nicky, and I'll be okay.
But it's also like it feels good to have a good support system, friends that you can talk to that isn't your partner. Like, yeah. I like the whole thing about your partner being your best friend, but there's sometimes where you can just have some friends without your partner that you can just, chill with.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm gonna be real for a moment. You're the only friend I've had, like true friend I've had in probably 3 years, other than Nick.
And that is fucking crazy.
It is crazy.
How I thought you were the more of the, like, popular one.
No, I'm so antisocial. Like, I would... the whole film festivals and stuff like that, I could probably do that so much better, but I'm like, no, I just don't want to speak to people. But yeah, no, this whole just watching movies and chilling and hanging out with you and shit, yeah, it's dope. I like it.
I feel like we are having a therapy session.
We really are, man.
I guess
Jennifer's Body, man. It's good writing. That's what you can tell from good writing. Is even when you can sit there and find flaws with the movie, you can have conversations like this simply because the situation and the characters are relatable. Good writing.
I think it's also just the whole aspect of the teen genre. The teen genre is like talks about stuff like this all the time. And I think Diablo Cody's strength is in like navigating these teen friendships, these teen age like situations.
Yeah, definitely the situations, because the sex scene between Chip and Needy,
my God,
too relatable.
Oh my
too
God.
Relatable.
And it's just like I get it. Like I basically just finished binge watching Euphoria. And my God, my perspective on what teenagers are doing right now was so fucked because of that series. I was like, okay, I need to watch something that's way more grounded, way more grounded. Okay, I think the last horror aspect thing I really like about it, because I'm not gonna bring up the music because you already have a hard on for the emo music that's been playing.
Dude, this music's so good.
Oh my God. I really did like the few, like, there weren't, aside from, like, the fire, there was very few kills. I mean, it's like, all of the people that were killed, there was reasons for them being killed. And, except for Ahmed, I felt bad for Ahmed because of the fact that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, I felt bad for him too.
He was the only one that he was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Because I was even like, because I completely forgot about the whole subplot of him dying by Jennifer's hands. And when I saw him in the fire, I was like, man, I hate that they introduced him just to kill him off like that. That sucks. And then you're like, oh, Ahmed survived the fire. Hell yeah. Oh shit, Jennifer's there.
Mm-hmm. And she was hungry. So that was, oh my God. And then, bitch, tell me, this fucking, was that CGI? Was that black shit CGI?
Probably.
Because, child, I was like, baby, what the fuck is this?
Oh, you talking about when it starts spiking up?
When it starts spiking up and shit. I was like, what the fuck is this? I did not understand this carnage that was, like, spewing out from her vessel. I was like, girl, what the fuck is that? Like, I did not understand it, and I did not like it at all.
You know what I didn't understand? but it led to something that I loved. Why the fuck did Needy get powers? How the fuck did Needy get powers?
Oh, she explained it. If you get bit by a demon and you live, sometimes you get the chance that to absorb, like there's like a certain chance that you get to absorb some of the powers, and she just happened to absorb some of the powers. Like, I understood that.
That's stupid.
How?
That's stupid. That's bad. That's bad writing. That's just coming up with something to pull out of your ass because you need Needy to break out of prison at the end.
I mean, maybe, but it also kind of, I can see it happening because, like, we've had this. She did a lot more research than most of us probably would do on.
She read a small section in a high school library about the occult.
Baby, that's more than what probably she could have done. Not like she was. She
could have brought up the Wikipedia.
I'm gonna walk out this door right fucking now.
But
How dare you?
Anyway, I think that part's stupid, but it does lead to a really good end credit scene where she massacres that terrible, shitty little band.
And I think I like that a lot because it switches from, a teen horror dark comedy movie to a full blown revenge movie at the very end. Like, and it, baby. On top of her powers, the fact that she's basically like powerful as fuck and she can float, even though she was all like, "Bitch, girl, that bitch is just levitating. It's all right." That shit was funny. It was, why you have to undermine everything I do, bitch? You're just levitating, girl.
That was funny, Chip. She can fly. No, she's just levitating. It's not that impressive.
I'm like, bitch, yeah, she ain't all that. That was funny, but yeah, no.
What's your final thoughts? I mean, we're kind of
there.
Yeah.
You know what though? At first I thought it was gonna be like, fuck this movie, give it like a 1 out of 5 or some shit. Damn. But talking about it, that was when I was first coming in because I knew I heard it was bad, but it's not bad. It's just
it's not. It gets a bad rap.
It gets a really bad rap because of the things around it. But like, I relate a lot of things to misogyny anyway because obviously, like, Hollywood hates women.
Yeah, true. So
it's way better than I was expecting, but like, I also didn't really have much expectation out of it. Only then, like, the whole potential lesbian thing, I was like, okay, whatever. Then finding like a lot of like story about how someone basically deals with not only trauma, but like that trauma leads to her unpacking trauma from her own life and having to basically navigate a toxic friendship and the testing the limits of a romantic relationship, all against the backdrop of like murders and lots of ennui, lots of different just high school societal things. And I found myself taking more out of it than I was thinking, mostly because we talked about it. Because if we just watched this and moved on, I probably wouldn't have, thought about all of the different messages, the themes that this movie has to offer. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, this movie is actually pretty damn... It's pretty damn smart. I just hate the fact that it got a bad rap. And some of the choices made character-wise were kind of meh, too. But, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect film. This film gives camp.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever I think of camp, this is kind of like a prime example of what I think camp. Like, this is basically like the campiness of what like Blood Rage wanted to do with a little bit of euphoria. A little bit of euphoria and a little bit of not euphoria, more so like High School Musical. There you go. Is that like like the vibe, like the outside vibe of High School Musical meets like a little bit of Twilight when it comes to like the goth-ish aesthetic of it, but just splashes of just a fucking fun time. It's like watch all of that shit, but with a fun time.
It's like an episode of Degrassi meets Carrie.
Basically, it's like Degrassi meets Carrie, and I think I like that. So I'm just giving it a 3, like a solid 3. That's my final answer.
Nice. I like this movie like a lot. I'm not gonna say I love it because I'm on the same boat with you. It's campy, good, fun time. But the more you sit and think about the themes, and the more you talk about it, because I'm glad we did talk about it, because it seems like you enjoyed it a lot more talking about it than you did when we got done watching it. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It's a lot of fun, and it does not deserve the rap that it's been given. Like, it's a smartly written, well executed, funny horror comedy that it perfectly encapsulates toxic relationships in an unconventional manner. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I give it a 4. So our overall would be like a 3.5. So yeah.
This was Jennifer's Body.
Jennifer's Body, directed by KARYN KUSAMA, who also did Aeon Flux. Ew. But I will say ew to Aeon Flux.
Oh, bitch, we finna fight after this.
That movie sucked.
Oh, I don't give a goddamn. That was one of my favorite movies of that era, bitch. That and Ultraviolet, bitch.
Ultraviolet was better.
They're both good, goddammit.
No. Anyway,
fuck
she did
you.
The amazing.
Oh my god.
Nah, she did The Invitation, which is a phenomenal little horror movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she directed The Invitation.
Girl, I'm gonna need you to do more prestige shit, baby, because we need more award shit from you, baby.
But anywho, next week we are moving on to another horror comedy. This time a British horror comedy.
Oh god. Oh god, I did not know it's British. I don't know how to feel about that.
Do you even know the synopsis?
I feel like the synopsis is in the poster.
Kinda. Yeah.
The synopsis is in the poster, but I also have a problem with British cinema. Well, British media, and the fact that like their senses of humor are different from ours.
I love their sense of humor. It's so dry.
I can handle dry humor up to a certain extent, but like I find myself not really enjoying British cinema like that. But I'll try it. What's the synopsis?
So, a pregnant widow believes herself to be guided by her unborn child, embarks on a homicidal rampage. Basically, it's a pregnant widow, and her baby is speaking to her in her head, telling her to kill people.
This bitch needs therapy.
It's called Prevenge, and it is directed by Alice Lowe, who also stars in it.
Ooh, wait, did she write it as well?
Probably. Yes, the sole writer too.
Fuck, I'm gonna like it. I can already tell.
Passion project.
I am a huge sucker for our tour projects. God damn it. Okay. I give. I already know what my number one's gonna be. Based off of that information alone, and I hate that for myself.
No.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be great.
Oh fuck.
So yeah, if you want to follow along with us, you should definitely check out Prevenge, because we will be discussing it next week. You should also check out all of our episodes. They're right here on YouTube. They're also on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Google.
Anywhere you can get your podcast. And we're also on every single social media platform known to man, except for TikTok, because I'm still trying to figure that out.
And MySpace.
Because MySpace doesn't need to exist. I may make a Space Hey page in honor of the old MySpace, but you never know. Let's see what happens. But
we'll bring it back, baby.
We'll bring it back. And we will have all of our links to our social medias on there. Including our cute little link tree. Woo. And just like before, just keep on listening. Please comment, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you can get all of the notifications right when you get there. I know there's you get 3 notifications a day, but we only really upload once, at least once a week.
For our episodes, we do it once a
Mhm.
week. Every now and then, we watch new stuff and we do like a parking lot review.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be watching The Batman coming soon, but Jay's already seen it without me, so I may not. Depending on how it is, I may not give my thoughts.
Honestly, like
If it's good,
once you do it, we can do a spoiler review.
okay,
Once you watch it, we'll give her a spoiler review of it.
nice. Because I'm looking forward to it. I'm watching that tomorrow. So
Ooh, it's gonna be great.
yeah, until next time, I've been Heath,
And I've been Jay,
and this has been
host of Horrors.
Bye.
Annyeong.